Hello everyone, I am Dr. Efthimios Papatsikis and I would like to welcome you to today's presentation on violence and abuse and its impact on brain development and emotional security in children. The focus of this presentation is to understand the profound effects that violence and abuse have on the developing minds of children. Understanding the effects of violence and abuse on children is crucial because it has significant implications for the child's physical, emotional, and psychological development. Children who experience violence or abuse can suffer from a range of negative outcomes, including anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and behavioral problems. One of the key reasons why understanding these effects is so important is that they can have a long-lasting impact on the child's brain development. Research has shown that exposure to violence and abuse can result in changes to the structure and function of the brain, particularly in areas related to emotion regulation, memory, and attention. These changes can in turn affect the child's ability to learn, form healthy relationships, and regulate their emotions as they grow older. Another reason why understanding the effects of violence and abuse on children is so important is that it can help to inform prevention and intervention efforts. By understanding how violence and abuse affect children, professionals can better identify and respond to cases of abuse and provide appropriate support to help children recover from trauma they have experienced. For all the above, we will delve into the various ways in which these experiences can impact brain development and emotional security, drawing upon research conducted by experts in the field, such as Cicchetti and Toth. This comprehensive review of child maltreatment, for example, covers the consequences of abuse on various aspects of development, emphasizing the importance of a multidisciplinary approach in understanding and addressing these issues. Let's begin by discussing the different types of violence and abuse that children may be exposed to. These include physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, and exposure to domestic violence. It is important to recognize and understand each type of abuse as they all can have devastating effects on a child's development and well-being. According to Habie and colleagues, children exposed to these forms of violence may experience a range of short and long-term consequences. In their study, the researchers found that up to 10% of children are exposed to some form of family violence each year, increasing to 18%, as you can see on this slide, throughout the youth. This highlights the importance of addressing this issue. Child abuse and violence are unfortunately prevalent issues worldwide. The World Health Organization provides global statistics to help us understand the magnitude of this problem. They estimate that globally, nearly 3 in 4 children, or 300 million children, aged 2 to 4 years, have experienced physical, sexual, or emotional violence or neglect in the past year alone, while 1 in 5 women and 1 in 13 men report having been sexually abused as a child aged 0 to 17 years. The importance of early intervention and prevention cannot be overstated, as addressing these issues can help mitigate the navigated effects on a child's development and overall well-being. To understand the impact of violence and abuse on children, we must first have a basic understanding of normal brain development. According to Shonkoff and Phillips, the early experiences of a child play a crucial role in shaping brain development. In their landmark report, they emphasized that the brain is most sensitive to environment influences during critical periods of development. This highlights the importance of providing a nurturing and supportive environment for children to grow and develop. Violence and abuse can have significant impacts on a child's brain development, particularly in relation to their stress response system. Research by Tyser and colleagues indicates that the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis can become dysregulated as a result of abuse, leading to persistent activation of the stress response system. This can have serious consequences on a child's ability to cope with stress and regulate their emotions. In their review, they found that the most consistent effects of abuse on brain structure and function involved alterations in the HPA axis, limbic system, and prefrontal cortex. In addition to the stress response system, the physical structure of a child's brain can be impacted by violence and abuse. Hart and Rubia found that children exposed to abuse may experience a reduction in hippocampal volume and reduced gray matter in the prefrontal cortex. These structural changes can lead to impairments in memory, learning, and executive functioning. Their critical review of neuroimaging studies highlights that these changes can persist into adulthood, emphasizing the long-lasting effects of childhood maltreatment on brain structure. Violence and abuse also impact the functionality of the brain. Research by McCrory and colleagues demonstrates that altered connectivity between brain regions can occur as a result of maltreatment. This can lead to impairments in cognitive and emotional processing, further exacerbating the negative effects of abuse on a child's development. In their review, they highlight the importance of understanding the complex interplay between genetic and environmental factors in shaping brain development and function in children who have experienced maltreatment. The impact of violence and abuse on a child's emotional development can be far-reaching. According to Chicketty and Toth, children exposed to maltreatment are at an increased risk of developing mental health disorders and may experience impairments in emotional regulation. They emphasize the importance of understanding the psychological mechanisms through which abuse can impact a child's emotional well-being in order to better tailor interventions and support systems. Continuing from the previous slide, children exposed to violence and abuse may also struggle with forming secure attachments, leading to difficulties in their relationships with others. They may also experience lower self-esteem and self-worth, further impacting their overall mental health and well-being. In their comprehensive review of complex trauma in children and adolescents, Cook and colleagues highlight the pervasive effects of trauma on multiple aspects of development, including attachment, emotional regulation, and self-concept. Despite the numerous challenges faced by children exposed to violence and abuse, resilience plays a crucial role in mitigating the negative effects. According to Masten, factors that promote resilience include supportive relationships, positive coping strategies, and access to resources that foster growth and healing. It is important for caregivers, educators, and community members to understand the role of resilience in helping children overcome the adversity they have faced. By nurturing resilience, we can empower these children to build a brighter future despite the challenges they have endured. Early intervention is critical in mitigating the negative effects of violence and abuse on children. Identifying at-risk children as early as possible can help ensure they receive the support and resources they need to overcome these challenges. Professionals working with children, such as teachers, social workers, and healthcare providers, should be aware of the signs of abuse and be prepared to intervene when necessary. For that matter, Felitti and colleagues emphasize the strong relationship between childhood abuse and household dysfunction, with numerous health and social problems later in life, further highlighting the importance of early identification and intervention. There are evidence-based programs available to help children affected by violence and abuse. Two such interventions are trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy and parent-child interaction therapy, which both are manifested through several interdisciplinary applications in the field, including the use of music, as you can see in our latest publication presented on this slide. The available therapeutic approaches have been shown to effectively address the emotional and behavioral consequences of abuse. In their book on treating trauma and traumatic grief in children and adolescents, Cohen and colleagues provide guidance on implementing these evidence-based treatments, emphasizing the importance of tailoring interventions to the specific needs of each child. Creating safe and supportive environments is essential for children recovering from the effects of violence and abuse. Schools, childcare settings, and community-based programs can all play a role in providing nurturing and secure spaces for children to heal and thrive. By fostering a sense of safety, children are better able to develop healthy coping mechanisms and build resilience. Ossowski's article on the impact of violence on children provides insight into the challenges faced by children living in violent environments and offers recommendations for creating safer spaces for them to grow and develop. Preventing child abuse and violence is a crucial aspect of promoting the well-being of children. Strategies for prevention include strengthening families and communities through education, support, and access to resources. By addressing the root causes of abuse and providing a strong network of support, we can work towards reducing the incidence of child maltreatment. Policy changes and advocacy efforts play a significant role in addressing the issue of violence and abuse against children. By raising awareness, influencing legislation, and driving the implementation of evidence-based programs, we can create a society where children are better protected from harm. In his article on screening for adverse childhood experiences, Finkelor outlines the importance of carefully considering the implications of widespread adverse childhood experiences, screening, while also emphasizing the need for policy changes and advocacy efforts to ensure children receive the support they need. Examples of successful policy initiatives include those that promote increased funding for children protection services, support for evidence-based programs, and mandatory reporting laws for professionals working with children. In conclusion, the impact of violence and abuse on brain development and emotional security in children is profound and far-reaching. By understanding the various ways in which this experience affects children, we can work together to provide early interventions, create safe and supportive environments, and advocate for policies that protect the well-being of our most vulnerable population. Through a combined effort of research, intervention, and prevention, we can help mitigate the effects of violence and abuse and support children in building a brighter future. Now that we have explored the impact of violence and abuse on brain development and emotional security in children, as well as the importance of early intervention, prevention, and policy changes, our presentation will continue with the examination and analysis of two case studies incorporating brain data. These case studies will provide real-world examples of children who have experienced violence and abuse, shedding light on the complexities of their situations and the effectiveness of various interventions. By delving into these cases, we can deepen our understanding of the challenges and opportunities for supporting the well-being and resilience of children affected by violence and abuse. In our first case study, Danlovsky and colleagues investigated the long-term neurobiological effects of childhood maltreatment in a large community sample. They examined the functional and structural magnetic resonance imaging data of 123 healthy participants with a history of childhood maltreatment and compared it to 106 control subjects without such a history. The Danlovsky team utilized voxel-based morphometry to examine differences in gray matter volumes between the maltreated and non-maltreated groups. They also performed an emotional phases task during functional MRI to assess amygdala reactivity in response to emotional stimuli. The childhood trauma questionnaire was used to assess the severity of childhood maltreatment in the participants. In terms of structural differences, the study found that participants with a history of maltreatment had significantly reduced gray matter volume in several brain regions, including the hippocampus, as you can see colored on this slide, insula, orbitofrontal cortex, and anterior cingulate cortex. These brain regions are involved in various cognitive and emotional processes such as memory, emotional regulation, and decision making. On the other hand, the functional MRI findings revealed that the maltreated group showed increased amygdala reactivity to emotional phases, particularly fearful and angry phases. This heightened amygdala response, as you can see on this slide colored, response and suggests an increased sensitivity to threat and negative emotions in individuals who have experienced childhood maltreatment. Moreover, a significant correlation was found between the severity of maltreatment and amygdala reactivity, as you can see on the scatter plot, indicating that greater exposure to maltreatment was associated with a more pronounced amygdala response. The findings from this case study provide compelling evidence for the long-lasting impact of childhood maltreatment on brain development, even in a community sample without clinical diagnosis. The observed structural and functional brain alterations emphasize the need for early intervention strategies to mitigate the negative impact of maltreatment on brain development and mental health. In another case study, Cohen and his colleagues explored the effects of early life stress on cognitive and affective function in adulthood, with a focus on the anterior cingulate cortex and caudate nuclei, two brain regions implicated in emotion and cognition. The researchers recruited participants who had experienced early life stress and assessed their history using the childhood trauma questionnaire. More specifically, they analyzed structural MRI data from 38 participants being exposed in the past to physical abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect, and compared it to 23 control subjects without a history of early life stress. Cognitive and affective functions of the participants were evaluated using various neuropsychological tests, including the Stroop-Color Ward test for executive function, the Wechsler Abbreviated Scale of Intelligence for IQ, and the Meyer-Salovey-Caruso Emotional Intelligence Test measuring emotional intelligence. The results, as you can see on this slide, showed that participants who experienced early life stress had significantly smaller volumes in the anterior cingulate cortex and caudate nuclei compared to control subjects. Notably, smaller anterior cingulate cortex volumes were associated with poorer performance on cognitive and affective measures. Specifically, reduced anterior cingulate cortex volume was linked to lower scores on the Stroop-Color Ward test, indicating impaired executive function as well as decreased emotional intelligence scores. This case study illustrates the long-term impact of early life stress on specific brain regions that are crucial for cognitive and emotional functioning. The findings highlight the importance of early intervention efforts to support healthy brain development and minimize the risk of cognitive and emotional impairments in individuals exposed to violence and abuse during childhood. The study also emphasizes the need for targeted interventions that focus on enhancing cognitive and emotional skills in individuals with a history of early life stress. From an even more detailed analysis of the two case studies' content, we can derive several key insights and implications for educational settings and teaching practices. So, I would suggest for you to study these two different case studies and try to extract this from your own. However, I can give you a short list where you can rely on and help your practice later on in your professional life. First and foremost, it's essential to create a safe and supportive environment in the classroom. This fact fosters a sense of security and reduces stress levels, allowing students to feel more comfortable and engaged in the learning process. Teachers should be trained to recognize the signs of trauma and be aware of the potential neurobiological consequences of childhood maltreatment. This awareness enables educators to identify students who may need additional support. Fostering emotional regulation and resilience is also crucial for these students. Integrating social emotional learning strategies into the curriculum can help them develop the skills needed to cope with adversity and succeed academically. Adapting teaching strategies to meet the diverse needs of students is vital too. Providing additional support using various instructional methods and offering individualized learning opportunities can help accommodate students affected by early life stress. Furthermore, encouraging positive peer relationships is another crucial aspect. Teachers can facilitate strong social connections by promoting group work, cooperative learning, and fostering an inclusive classroom culture. Collaboration with support services is also necessary to ensure that students with a history of maltreatment receive the appropriate interventions. Teachers should work closely with school counselors, psychologists, and other support staff to address the unique needs of these students. Finally, educators can advocate for trauma-informed education policies and practices at the school and district level. This includes promoting professional development opportunities, implementing trauma-informed curricula, and ensuring that school policies support the needs of students who have experienced maltreatment. By incorporating these insights into educational settings and teaching practices, educators can better support the academic, social, and emotional well-being of students who have experienced violence and abuse in their early lives. Thank you for your time and attention into this presentation. And if you have any further questions or need any relevant assistance on this topic, please do not hesitate to contact me. My contact information is available as you can see on this slide.